be hyped for that. Otherwise, I want to remind you that we're Team Lodendi. We're located here in Sweden, Hövde, doing a charity marathon for Doctors Without Borders. So every donation you send in is going in for a good cause. So keep on donating for prizes, for donation incentives, and keep up the good work, guys.
Are we good?
Yeah, and your mic is on.
My mic is on. Hello, everyone.
Yes, lady.
Select a lot of people already know this game. Just started. It's just time trials. So this is time trials, which means it's basically competing for the best time possible. And I thought I would just start out by like doing every single level, just a 3-lap, and see what times I get. And I can always like go from there and try to grind some things out. Okay. So yeah, let's just go with whatever. So I'm supposed to play as Peach right now because apparently I was donated the most. So enjoy a lot of Yep Ladies and stuff. So driving for this game is a lot different than people probably know from newer Mario Karts. if people have played Double Dash, it's a lot like it in the sense that you do a lot of drifting, but the timing space is more delicate. You don't want to like do slides all the time when you're going straight. Like in Mario Kart Double Dash, you do the thing called snaking, but here you can see me doing slides from like the same side to the left all the time. Oh, wow, that's terrible. Let's get in there. Oh wait, back on track. And basically the spacing, I want to like go into detail with this, by the way. So we have what is referred to as the slide and what is referred to as the glide. So the slide is what you see right now. It's the slide, like just losing speed by driving around. And the glide is the speed that you get from the orange smoke. So basically, the way the smoke works is you jump into a slide and you will have white smoke. But when you angle to the opposite side of the way you're sliding and then like slide back the way again you were initially doing it, you will instead change the smoke to yellow. And the same counts for orange. So when you release a slide from orange smoke, you will gain a lot of speed. Well, a lot of speed is definitely more than just driving straight, that's for sure. And this is what is used for going fast in this game. Alright, 140. I'm just noting these down just so I have a reference for later, see if there's anything I want to round out. Yeah, this was Luigi Raceway. It's... oh shit, I pressed retry, whatever. It's pretty much just a straight up driving around the level. You maybe saw me hit the sand a few times. It's generally not a big problem if you like touch the sand just for a quick while, but you lose a lot of speed by driving in it for a long time. But that's where the mushrooms come in. You saw me maybe drive around the edge a bit. First lap I used 1 mushroom and second lap I used 2. The reason for the 2 mushrooms is it's faster to use 2 on second lap than it is to use 1 every lap. Just because you have less time on grass. But using 1 around is still faster than not using it, so... oh, this is not that great. Okay, so this level has what we like to call RNG, because you cannot really guess the cycles of these molds. I actually don't really know the optimal like mushroom for this level, because it's pretty bumpy and there's a bunch of places you can use it. This level is mostly just sliding around all the time, because it's like, oh shoot, that was lucky. I had a bad angle. Pretty much what we like to do in like the speedrunning, and what is also pretty much done in time trials, because time trials is all about the best times. We like to do what is called MOLO, which is basically YOLO with the moles. And I will attempt like doing that now, but I've been pretty shaky on the driving at the moment. Okay, basically you drive around this part, and you would actually usually be going through over here, but instead I ended up hitting a bunch of moles, which is why it's called MOLO. I will definitely try and retry this level later, but for now I'm just noting down. Alright. Currently I'm playing the Japanese version, which might confuse a lot of players, but that's because I don't have a console for my American version. So yeah. There's not really a lot going on in some of the first levels here. They're basic driving around. This one has something though that is a bit different. It has a short jump you can do, where you basically jump into the waterfall. If I miss it, I'm just gonna retry, even though I said I would just run through levels. It's pretty basic. If you just have a slide speed up to it, you can just basically drive in there. I will attempt doing some glitches later, which will also be done in my skips run, but for now I just want to show off every level. So sliding around this part is actually faster than just driving around the normal way, because like it's just a faster track and you can do 2 slides, whereas the other side it's way more out to the side and it's harder to get slides done quickly. That was terrible. Let's try and redo that. The fastest way of doing the tunnel jump is actually by sliding on the bridge and jumping in there. Like, you don't even jump, you just slide in there. However, it's like really risky and it's time trial stuff. I haven't really done a lot of time trials on this level because it's pretty technical to get around stuff like this. So I usually just do it like this, which is pretty simple. You can actually glitch the ground in the tunnel. Like if you jump too far to the right, you will immediately like clip into the water, and you will not get put back into the tunnel. That much is for sure. Touching the water is the same as touching the sand, as far as I'm aware. It's pretty much just losing some speed. You can still do slides and stuff under the water, so it's no problem whatsoever. There we go. This is the optimal path for the mushroom, using it around that part. Holy. Okay, so sometimes I mess a little bit up. It's pretty hard to continually do slides and drifts all around in this game. People probably know it from the other Mario Karts if they played it, or just this. If you have to do jumps all the time and you have to angle to a side, maybe you will do the wrong angle. And it happened only once here, so that's not bad. Like for one try. Time trials is generally all about like grinding out. Some of the times are pretty goddamn good in this game. Like, this is terrible right now. I'm not calling myself a good player by any means. I'm a pretty decent player, but some of the time trial times are insane in this game. And if people are wondering, like, how do you measure against other times, like, do you just look at who's the best? On the MarioKart64.com page, there's actually what they call course, like standards, where you can see where, like, what is your ranking on that time compared to the standards. I'm generally a king player, which means I'm pretty good at the game, but it goes all the way up to God. I think it's like, but it's definitely like, okay, King, Legend, God. And God is basically the best. In those skips, the God times are impossible to reach if you're not godlike in this game. There are very few players who have actually ever done it. And the current world record holder in basically every track in no skips, or no shortcut as it's actually referred to. Damn it, I didn't make the cycle. This is not that nice. I forgot about what the cycle is like in this level in time trials because I'm not used to playing time trials that much. But yeah, I actually managed to set a God time the other day in the practice room here. And the funny thing is, it was not in no skips. It was in a skips category, and what is funny about that is they're generally not scaled 100% well for shortcuts in terms of time trials, because a lot of time trials are based on what like old standards were, and when a new thing is found, it's hard to do new standards, and some of the levels have completely broken things. Like there's what is referred to as the Weather Tenko skip in Choco Mountain, which has never been pulled off in anything but TAS. And I basically tried to go for that for fun, and I managed to jump the wall, which only a handful of people have done. And I managed to also get the second jump, the first normal skip, if you want to call it that. So I managed to actually get a God time, which is insane. But I have not registered it yet online or anything. Just for reference, this time was, let's see, this was probably pretty bad. Let's try and look. I'm just gonna look at Elite, which is below King, because this is like no reset time trials. If I were to do grinding, I will probably do a little bit of that later, if I have a lot of time left. I will give reference afterwards, it's not loading. But if you were to grind, you'll just like, small mistake, reset. That's basically how it works. If people here like watch stuff like SM64, it's basically sort of a catalyst kind of thing. It's not worth going for a run if you fail even once. And some of the things are just frame perfect, pixel perfect stuff, so yeah. The sliding itself, people are maybe wondering like how does it actually work, besides of course like sliding from side to side, because that's pretty obvious I guess. Basically, the first time you want to change the smoke, like from white to yellow, you have to slide for, I think it's 14 frames to the one side you're doing it, before you can actually change the smoke by notching the control stick to the side for a frame. And the second time it's only about 4 frames. So the first time is really hard. I don't know, I guess you cannot see my control stick, but I'm basically like doing like left immediately after I get the yellow smoke on this track. There you go, sliding around the edge. Here we go. So, something I could also get into real quick is I'm playing as Peach, and I set up the donation incentives for the game as either Peach, Toad, or Yoshi. The reason I don't want any of the other guys is because they're bad, basically. We like to think of Bowser as like a Joker. He's kind of cool, he's okay, but he's still very slow in comparison to the others. The reason being, for some reason they decided good balance was giving Peach, Yoshi, and Toad all the best stats besides weight, and weight is nothing in terms of time trials and stuff. So Yoshi, Peach, and Toad all have the exact same characteristics, besides a little bit change in weight. So like both acceleration and top speed, and also on top of that, I can try to demonstrate it later on, but when you get hit by something like a car here, you lose all your speed immediately, and you would usually regain your acceleration very, very slowly. However, if you tap A 3 times and hold it in, you will pretty much immediately regain your speed, and that is something that only works on Peach, Toad, Yoshi, and Bowser. And that is why Bowser is often considered maybe the 4th best in the game, just because he can actually recover from mistakes. But naturally, in terms of time trials, it's not a good character at all. Alright, knowing this down. So this, for instance, let's see what this time was on the standards. This was Toad's Turnpike, 3 lap. Okay, so this was actually 2:33:55. So this is actually a king time, it seems. I thought I would get some legend times in here because it's hard to get really good times in just one try. But it seems like it was actually what was the time again? 2:30. It was King F, which is pretty good actually. A lot of players who play this for a long time will grind it out and get times like these. Some players, of course, get way better. This is probably top 200 times or worse I'm getting at the moment. Probably way worse, actually, now that I think about it. So, just bear over with the fact that this is going terrible. But yeah, for now I'm just gonna play through every level, and I will have a little bit of time left to try some other stuff out. There's a more optimal spot for using a shroom there, but it has to do with good angling around the edge, and you jump basically from the side of the cliff on the left, and it's really, really tough to do, and you don't really gain that much more time. It's one of those strats that, again, in time trials, it's really, really worth it, because you have all the time in the world you want. You can just go in and select the level and grind. But it's one of those things I don't really think I have time for even trying for now. Yeah, go ahead. I have plenty of time.
We got a $5 donation from Mikro. He's saying donating because of that kicking rat made in you.
Thank you. This is actually a pretty old shirt. I think it's 7 years old or something at this point. But yeah, this again is pretty straightforward. It's basically, you could think of the snow as sand, but I'm not actually 100% sure about the characteristics of the snow. I think it might actually slow you a little bit more down the sand. At least as far as I'm aware, it's not a good idea to touch the sand at all. Okay, I was close to actually going out of, well, not out of bounds, but getting put back in on the track by Lakitu. I never understood, Lakitu or Lakitu, or whatever. Yeah, that was pretty okay. I guess I'll just say which times I get. That was 1:55. That must have been a legend something because it's not in king times. There we go. So yeah. Some of the later levels are pretty long, like Rainbow Road. And Warrior Stadium is also pretty long. Rainbow Road is pretty much it's a pretty boring level in terms of no skips time trials, or no shortcuts as it's referred to in the time trials community. However, Warrior Stadium is actually pretty funny because it requires a lot of technicality to be able to drive around on these small bumps everywhere and all the turns and all the jumps. I don't know. I was kind of close to the boulder actually, but I made the boss. So in this level I do not want to touch walls. I mean, of course it's slower in the first place to touch walls, but the walls in this level can be pretty clingy. Like, they don't want to let go of me. Some of them will get me stuck in there real good until I jump out. I think of them not really as much as walls. I think more of them as very high slopes that they just didn't really do well on programming, but I don't know if that was the design choice. It's pretty hard to say. Yeah.
They're asking if there's a website where you can watch the Mario Kart World
For like the world records and stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah, you just go into MarioKart64.com, no spaces or dashes or anything, and there is a huge leaderboard set up. I was about to actually kind of get into that because, like in general, the history of this game is pretty interesting. I don't know a whole lot about the early days since I was maybe 2 years old, but basically the time trials community is probably one of the strongest time trial communities of all time in terms of video games. It was one of the really big back then, alongside with GoldenEye, and it's amazing, like the day-to-day still seeing improvement in terms of times. Right now the world record holder Matthias Wustermeier is just like godlike at this game. He's beating time systematically on NTSC just for show off, kind of. Basically, oh yeah, I could mention that in terms of time trial community in this game, both PAL and NTSC are accepted in the sense that PAL is not worse than NTSC. It's actually considered easier and better just because you do time conversion. Since this is just straight up time, there's no like lag or anything involved in your final time of the lap. Time conversion is used, and PAL is of course slower FPS, meaning flickering on the screen, meaning it will be easier for you to react and stuff and do slides perfectly. I think the TV is starting to die a bit. Okay, right now on screen I have. I'll try and see if I can fix this. Basically, it's flickering black and white right now. I think if something pushes it up, it will stay there. Let's see if I can get something in there. Is it good now? Okay, let's try and continue. This would now be an illegal time as far as I'm concerned because I paused. I don't know a lot about time trials in general, like I don't play it a whole lot, so I don't know if it's actually an invalid time, but I'm pretty sure it is counted as invalid time. However, like, I couldn't see my screen. I thought it was pretty fair for me to pause there. Good thing this wasn't a speedrun, because otherwise I would have just lost some time, but yeah. Now, if you've never watched Beyond, if you played this yourself but never looked at a lot of runs, this might just seem pretty normal to you, like just, oh, he's driving on the sand with the mushroom and stuff to skip things. But I will do a little bit of like glitch execution later on just to show off some of the things you can do. And some of the results can be pretty outstanding based on what you would usually think. Wow, what it was. Yeah, that was a terrible time actually. That was probably in the low legend or maybe, no, not legend. I kept saying legend for some reason. I meant elite. Elite is pretty okay standards. It means you played the game quite a lot, but you're not really mastering it, and that's sort of the times I'm getting by just driving. Jumping these hills are actually slightly faster, but if you fail it, you will lose time. Like here, I will try to. That was a bad jump. I jumped way too high. So how these slopes work is, as you'd think, they either give you speed by driving down, or they lose you speed by when you're driving upwards. Oh wow, that was a bad angle. Whatever. Some of the hills are broken, but these are pretty normal. So why I want to jump off the slopes is not just because you save, like you don't lose as much speed going up of them, but you also have less speed in air than you have on ground. So you want to be on the ground as fast as possible, and if you go up the entire slope, you will kind of be in the air for a long time. Well, not a long time, but it will still matter a little bit in the long run. So you want to jump off the edge as soon as possible, just to land on the ground safely, like there. I did it. It's really small time savers. It's basically nothing, but it's done just because it's worth it. Yeah. You can't really do slides on this part just because you would get wrecked by the slopes and it's not really worth it in the first place. You can actually stick onto that wall while going downwards. If you jump at a frame perfect space, you can trigger it to think that it's just a road downwards, like you just stick onto it really, and you will speed down really fast. I think it's actually slightly faster than doing it normal on this level. I can't be sure though because it's not even... Oh, there you kind of saw it. I got stuck to the wall a little bit and it's a good thing in this case. When I do Rainbow Road later, I will do what is called the Tran style, which I can't remember his first name, but it was basically discovered by a guy called something, last name Tran. And it works sort of like the way I just described this hill before. You stick onto it, but the way you do it is consistent and pretty easy, and you save about half a second per lap. I will show it off later, but basically you use the acceleration strategy to first get on the track by slowing down and then speeding up immediately and going really, really fast on the track. Yeah, this is what most people probably call a very boring level. It's just, I guess you could call it dirt track with basically nothing really funny. But when you're doing time trials and speedruns and stuff in this game, it's really, really an interesting level because it's one of the most technical levels in the entire game. You have a lot of turns, you have a lot of jumps, you have a lot of slopes and stuff all around. By the way, this is not optimal usage of Mushroom, that was terrible. You can use it over here, like on this upcoming slope while doing a slide, and you will continue your slide mid-air while you're speeding alongside the air. And it's really, really great, but it's actually pretty hard to execute, hence why I don't even try for it. I just thought of something I wanted to point out. Oh yeah, how slides work, I guess. Basically, as you would maybe already assume, sliding is slower. Like if I was to slide the whole level, it would be slower than just holding down A and turning my control stick. Well, for the most part. Around turns it's slightly faster than just turning normal. But you lose speed every time you do a slide. But you gain more speed than you lose if you time your mini turbos right, so it's actually worth it, even though you kind of lose time by sliding. Wait, that's the 3:49.79. That was not even... Well, okay. My time trial times there were mostly skips done. You can basically just jump the wall twice and you're done with a lap. This is a pretty... Some people love this track. I cannot... I can't stand it. Let's go for the jump there. Basically, the only reason I hate it is because of the penguins and the fact that the ice... well, not the ice, the water itself gives you a lot of trouble throughout the run. Oh, that is terrible. Basically, the optimal way of doing this level is, as you might be able to guess, jumping the edges, like here. However, this can be very tricky if you get a bad angle or if you don't have enough speed. Especially this one upcoming right here. It's pretty famous for some people doing amazing jumps on that. Really just insane jump. Not insane jumps as in he flies 50 meters in the air or something, but it's just really impressive that some people can make the jump so wide. The penguin cycles here are always the same, so if you drive the same always, you will always get the same thing, basically. But they can still be pretty annoying, especially if you make a mistake or if you forget where they're gonna be. If you bump into them, you will be knocked backward. Oh, that is terrible. Now you will see what I mean by the water. You get sort of a longer animation. It's really just frustrating. I'll keep this time because it's on the third lap, and I will maybe, if I have time, redo this just to get a better time in it for this thing. But I was also wanting to talk a bit about the glitches of this game, maybe just a little bit. I'm doing a glitched run later on in this this week I'm doing on Saturday about the same time as today. But basically some of the glitches are just funny and not really usable, and some of them I will not even go for. I was talking about the Weather Tenko earlier, which is basically... did I just go for the jump? No, I didn't. I didn't know the time, but that was terrible, whatever. Weather Tenko, which is a TAS-only strat that's never been pulled off. Stuff like that is not worth it in an actual speedrun of the game. Oh yeah, I'm driving against myself here. Maybe I should get into that. Basically, Mario Raceway, Luigi Raceway, and Royal Raceway. I have to remember the English names, I'm used to playing Japanese. There's this Castle Ghost you can play against, so basically I think it was the guys who made the game, they just like played for an okay time and thought, well, this can go in the game. And so you can play against their times or whatever if you beat the time in the first place. No, you don't even have to beat it. You have to get some specific time and you can do it. So I do the jump there too because you want to save time. What is time at, by the way, right now? 27. Okay, I'm about halfway through my block. I will also probably... I have chat open, but I cannot really look at it because this is generally very intense driving. Unless I have a screen right next to me, it's pretty impossible to keep up. But if anyone has any questions in the late end of the run that they need answered about time trials in general or how Mario Kart 64 physics and stuff work, I will gladly answer them. Oh yeah, you sort of do a slide around here, which is naturally faster because you skip the actual road. It's sort of like basic, you can call it math. It's a shorter distance, therefore it's faster. The trouble can be if you mess up and hit the wall or something. It can be pretty troublesome because you will lose time. But none of that actually really matters in time trials because you can redo over and over. Funny thing, I will not be doing in my skips run, very likely. At the finish line of this level in Koopa Troopa Beach, if this was not time trials, I mean this is time trials, so it's not really relevant, but I thought I'd point it out anyways. There are a few sub-pixels next to the finish line that apparently thinks you're in 8th place, so you can like RNG a star in 1st place if you have a boo. It's really insane stuff, but it's not actually relevant to this. I guess I could also get into some version differences. Basically, there's a Japanese version 1.0, version 1.1, and then there's PAL and NTSC, which is a later version than both of them. I don't know. I'll briefly talk about them, and then I'll go over it in 2 days again. But basically, they made the newer versions more broken than the older ones. This version of the game, the very first, is the least broken version of them all. Okay, that's a lie. No, it's not actually, because they fixed a glitch in version 1.1 you can do in this level, but then they fucked it up in Toad's Turnpike, so it's pretty weird. I don't know what they were doing. They must have fucked up. Can I say that word? Oh, sorry. They must have messed up something in like the loading area zones, whatever. But like in American and PAL version on the first level, there's above the tunnel, you can. Oh yeah, this is 100 easy. This is easy. There's only 2 thwomps. There's basically a solid wall in this version, which was fixed in version 1.1, where you cannot even like get up there and do anything. But if you're playing on PAL or NTSC-U, which is the newest version of this game, the wall is just not there. It's just not solid. You can just jump right through. It's not possible in time trials, however, which is sad, but yeah. This level is one of the harder ones in the game when you initially start out learning it, because of the cycles. There are a bunch of thwomps going around everywhere. Like the penguins are annoying, but they're not really that bad because you don't have a hard time getting around them. But these guys are pretty much in the way, as you can see. Also something really tough here, these stairs. It might not look like anything at all, but the way spin-outs work in this game, if you're familiar with like whenever you lose balance or you hit a banana or whatever, you do what is called a spin-out. And you lose time and you cannot drive and you can not use certain items also, but the stairs are very known for causing these so-called spin-outs, and the reason being you can change, like the way you do a spin-out, actually it's not a problem in time trials, I'm stupid. In time trials, basically you cannot spin out no matter what, but these stairs are still notorious for causing spin outs, because when you change the angle from left to right really fast, you will get a spin out, and it is just something with those stairs that cause that. I don't know why. 156 is not terrible. Also the version differences on voices. You can, if you know like American version or PAL version from your childhood, you will maybe remember Peach does not sound that manly at all, but it's a Japanese voice actor that was changed in the American and PAL version. This level is not that bad in time trials, but when you play against computers, this level can get really, really laggy. That's something about this game. They have been pushing the memory as far as I'm concerned. This is technically the fastest way to use a mushroom, going around that spot right there. I was pretty slow at using it, but another spot you can use it is right before the finish line, where you can sort of speed up the slope instead of having to do it slowly, which is more consistent, I guess, because you are getting hit by the coconuts or whatever they are all the time. But I like to do it like this instead, where you just jump up and you triple tap A and gain your speed back, which is, as far as I'm aware, also the fastest way of doing it. Sliding around here is just, again, like sort of basic math. It's slightly faster to go around that edge. And the slide there might seem pretty tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. You basically just angle yourself straight, and you do like a slide to the left, and just don't touch the analog stick at all, and you will kind of always make it pretty good angle out of it, and pretty far on the left side. If you just jump in the midair, it's way different, and you lose speed from being in the air for too long. Like, this is what it looks like if you speed up of it instead. That was all around a faster lap, but one thing that's also to be said about time trials in this game, and just general driving, the first lap is always, with only I think 2 exceptions, the slowest lap in terms of your speed. The only reason in time trials there are 2 laps that are faster than first is because you can utilize the mushroom really quickly to drive across something like sand or whatever. And otherwise the first lap is always about 0.4 seconds slower. I can't recall the exact time. Just because you don't start from the finish line, you start like right behind it, even though it seems like you're in front of it, kind of. That was pretty decent. I did not fall down or anything, and that is nice. Yeah, a lot of hype about San Andreas in chat, I can tell that. But it's right after this run, so I guess I got the best time possible. So for this level, there is one way that's faster than driving to the right here. Basically, this is the usually done fastest way, but in time trials grinding, there's a faster way you can do it. That's not a shortcut at all. Oh yeah, by the way, this is intended. I'm not the one to judge whether or not it's intended to jump there, but the time trial community has deemed it intended a bunch of years ago, so it's allowed in non-shortcut. But basically, driving left instead, you can save about, I think it's about a second actually, just by driving around the porcupines or whatever they are over here. I'll try and do it. Okay, that's bad. Okay, I didn't fall down. This is why it's, however, a risky thing. There are these cycle porcupines, which they're not RNG at all, but their cycles are just really hard to overlap because they're walking everywhere, basically. But the best times of this game are done by that route and not hitting any of them. And it's again a grind thing. I cannot really just actively do it in an hour, just get like a god time or whatever. But I at least wanted to show out the way it looks, because a lot of people would probably, even like if they've seen speedruns, believe this is the fastest way. Just because it's the safest does not mean it's fastest, however. I'm kind of forgetting where to use my mushrooms at the moment because I'm trying to explain a lot. What I did there is my personal strat. I don't know if anyone else is using it, but basically it's a pretty tough turn. You can even jump it way further on the left. But the thing about it is, if you have a bad angle, you can just brake right before you do the actual jump. Oh yeah, that part last lap was pretty good because of the ending. You don't even need to lap the finish line like in front of it. You can just do it on the side. What was it talking about again? What was he talking about? I can't remember. Something, whatever. Something chat. Forgetting things is stupid, but yeah, time trials, guys. This is time trials. Yeah, the driving has changed over the part, like newer generations from this older one, but I still like this the most. It's pretty action-packed. Okay, that was terrible. This is also known as a pretty tricky level, just because you have a bunch of places you can fall down, and that was just really bad by me. I guess I'm up to falling down twice on the tracks now in general, or 3 times. I can't remember. It's not that great, but I guess this is more of a, well, it's not a speed run exactly, but I'm sort of just doing them one by one. Actually, the world record holder for the time trials in non-shortcuts, a lot of them, sort of made a category where he does time trial runs and just tries to get god times in all, like 3 lap, 1 lap in the non-shortcut ones, just like as fast as possible. And I think no one else would ever attempt that, because it's impossible basically if you're not insane at this game, and he is. I guess I should say when I picked this up, because I have not been playing this my entire life or anything. I picked this game up about, I think it was about October last year, and I had a small break for it for about 2 months where I thought it was a bit boring to just do runs over and over. But I'm kind of back for good, I would say. I'm really enjoying this game now, and right now this time trials was more of a like, hey, I can do this on the second stream if you just want to have some like exhibition of the levels and what time trial strats and like the community and everything. But I will be doing a lot more time trials in the future. I enjoy this too. It's sort of like a small speed run, you could say. It's basically a 3-minute speed run on some of the levels. That was terrible. I fell down, like you can tell I lost about 7 seconds in one of the laps just by falling down. But I guess it's bound to happen if you get a bad angle like I did. So now for the always classic Rainbow Road. This is maybe the most iconic for a lot of people. First of all, here I'm gonna do the trans style, by the way. You brake and you triple tap A and you mash down, and you can see me sort of speeding down. It's sad that I got like the jump at the end though, because if you speed down the entire thing, it's slightly faster, but it's still faster than just jumping or whatever you would normally do in the air. So it's always a strat to go for, and it's really easy to pull off once you learn it. It's something everyone should do if they're doing either time trials or speedruns of this game. But yeah, I was talking about this level. It's pretty iconic. Pretty much the track. I mean, SNES version, of course, set the standards for it, but a lot of people remember this just because this was, I think, one of the most selling of the old Mario Kart games. And it's just one of those levels where it's just relaxing to drive on. You just drive around a lot. There's not really a lot of technicality besides drive around corners a lot. You just want to get around corners as fast as possible. Now, I mentioned pretty early on in my exhibition here that you want to space your mini turbos in between each other, the slide glide thing. For straight paths, you have to wait about, I guess, about like 1.5 seconds on NTSC, maybe 2 seconds before you jump into a new one. It's really hard. It's a timing thing you sort of get down eventually. But for around corners, you nearly want to jump into a new one immediately, but you have to wait just like a fraction of a second first, because you want to at least utilize some of the speed boost for a little longer period. And again, let's try with the trans style. That is perfect. Literally just driving down like, what is it, an 80-degree slope or something. And that's why I don't really call a lot of the walls in this game, because they feel more like that, more like slopes that are just pretty large. You can actually, if you turn around, I think that's pretty funny. If you turn around and go up that entire slope, you can jump up the entire thing, like pretty slowly, but you can do it. It's really weird, but that's how the jumping works on certain slopes in this game. You can pretty much climb anything that's made sort of like that thing is. You can jump out of bounds somewhere, but it's not useless in any way. There's no track outside, and there's no way to clip in specific spots. Well, that's kind of a lie. There are some out of bounds things you can do, but not like based on jumping on the walls like I was doing. Well, I was talking about you could do. If there are any donations or whatever, feel free to read them, but I don't know. Yeah, I think after this level I will just do some of the funnier glitches or whatever. Just show off a few of them that are actually usable in time trials. I will probably try and do like 3 minutes for Weather Tango skip, just first lap. It will be impossible for me to get, I guess, but it will still be something. You can see me jump a few times, and basically I can tell you how it works. But other than that, I will probably just grind a few of the levels for the final time before the San Andreas run starts, which is hype, of course. Yeah, feel free.
We got a $10 donation from Anonymous saying, because Flippio is the man.
Nice, thank you. Okay, I was wondering why I got so many here we goes in a row. In general, I don't really like Peach just because she's pretty whiny, I guess you could tell, after this entire run. But the world record holder for non-shortcut always uses Toad. It's just sort of a like what do you prefer kind of thing, because there are no differences like I mentioned earlier. I just like Yoshi myself, but I'm kind of forced to play her, and it's fine. It's really no difference. The only difference I can probably immediately tell, besides artistic choices, is the tires on Toad sounds a little bit different. It's pretty weird, but yeah, that's how it works for some reason. This is not terrible, but this level is, once you know how to drive it, it's not that hard. And just dodge the chain jumps. Its cycles can be pretty annoying, but like the penguins and like everything in this game, they're on a set cycle that is not global or anything, so whenever you enter the level, it's always the same. Yay! Alright, pretty consistent level laps. I'm just gonna check what time that was compared to standards. It was an elite time probably, it seems. So, yeah, this was all non-shortcut time trials. This is what most people grind just because a lot of them are very tough to do. I will try out the Weather Tango here real quick for fun. I will not get it, but I will see if I can. Basically how it works is you drive to the side and you hold A and B backwards to gain a little bit of speed, and you use the mushroom and hold left. You can get a pretty goddamn high like wall bounce if you do it correctly. And it's only been done in TAS, but you can clip like over there. You can hit a small bump on the wall and go behind the finish line. Because the way this works, there is no checkpoints in this game at all. So if you can just get around it without actually like yeah, apparently, like basically I tried to hold it a little bit later than the usual timing because it's faster technically to do this on second lap. The reason I don't want to do it on second lap is because I would have to do an entire lap before I can even try to do it. So it's sort of a speedrunner thing. It's not really worth my time to do the entire tracks and stuff. It's kind of like that, but that was not far enough at all into the air, high enough. You can get another bounce. Basically, there's a few bounces you can get. You can do it later on the track as well. Just like before the wall down there, and you can also jump the wall and whatever here. Whatever. I will try to execute the normal shortcut thing, and also that is like the reason why this is sort of broken in time trials in terms of skill level is because they can't really single out your time as being good if you get like a really hard skip 3 times in a row, just because there's another skip that's even harder. So you basically can jump here if you get it right. I did not get it right. I will try to just do a backup jump for fun. Up there. The fence is like you'd expect from any walls on the outside. You can just clip through it. So if you hit the fence, it's no problem at all. Yeah, this is a pretty also notorious, I want to say, like skip, shortcut, whatever. It's one of those things that a lot of runners of this game has not been like. Of course, there are a bunch who have executed this 3 times in a row, but it's one of those skips that are just really grind heavy and pretty hard to execute. I used to think it was pretty impossible until I sort of learned how to do it, these strats and stuff. You're gonna hear her whine a bit. It's fine. She likes it, apparently. I have not been using a single mushroom. Oh yeah, something I guess I really haven't mentioned at all actually, and it's pretty important, is this is 100cc, which means you drive slower than you would in a 150cc. It's the like engine size, I believe it's based on, the term. So some of the things are slightly differently executed. I'll try and at least get this once just to show off. I'll try 1 lap time. Okay, so there are basically 2 ways of doing time trials. What I've been doing up until now is what you call 3 lap, which is basically do every lap and see what your best time is. But there's also what we call F lap, which is fastest lap. So, like by executing the fastest lap possible for you, there's also like a set time for that, and that is why I got my 21:46 in. Like I have a 21:46 in 1 lap here. I got 2 days ago, I think. But it's sort of hard to execute. There, okay. So you can get a few jumps there. Thank you for the clappers. It's a 2-frame jump with a good angle and a certain speed. And all of that. That was a 24:97, my best here is a 21:46, so I saved quite a bit of time by just jumping the wall. Did I retry? God damn it, I'm used to after the track. I cannot read Japanese and I'm not used to the time trial menu. This one has, wait, where is it? There we go. This one has some pretty funny ones that a lot of people don't really know because it's not really worth it well, one of them is really worth it, but it's a pretty hard jump, one of them. Basically, you can sort of jump over the wall on the right side there. You can also do it with the left side, which is also pretty good, but jumping the right side means you go even further on the track. And again, it's one of those skips that are just really, really inconsistent and hard to execute. Okay. I will at least try to get the left side jump once and show off, and then, oh, I'm trying to speak here, an F lap once. I just sort of went into the same motion again and again. There we go. So that is not hard at all, actually. Well, it's decently hard because this is a 100cc, so I'm driving pretty slow. So even though I use a mushroom, I don't necessarily get a whole lot of speed. That's a 22:36. What would that be like? Let's just see if it's what it would be on Elite. 22:36. That is better than an Elite, that's for sure. That must have been like a King B or King C or something. Yeah, I did really bad on Sherbet Land, so let's try and redo that and just try to not fall down for once. A bunch of levels don't have any shortcuts in them, and for that there's nothing you can do. So this is one of them, and that is why it's one of the most technical tracks in terms of trying to get perfect side jumps and stuff. I mean, it's not the sole reason. I mean, it's to get the fastest time possible, obviously. But yeah. What is time at right now, by the way? 50. Okay, so we're nearing the end here. I guess I will. If anyone has any questions, I can read chat every time I'm not driving at the moment. So feel free to ask about this game in general. Remember again to check out MarioKart64.com. It's really a great website with a lot of it's easy to navigate. There are world records, there are track records you can look up, and all of the players through time can be found on the leaderboards, and you can check the forums there too. There's some pretty active, it's active there for sure, the forum online. if you want to get into this game, check out a bunch of the best driving. Like, the best way I can tell you to get better at this game is just looking at other people playing. GTA essay is in about 10 minutes about that question, by the way. But thank you for the question, dude. Oh, dude. That is not perfect at all. So now I'm probably getting flooded in the chat with GTA SA hype right now. I'm pretty hyped myself. I'm probably not gonna be in the room watching because I'm expecting at least 50 people to be in here. Yeah. Is there anything else I can really talk about? I'll try and do this one lap here. How do you implement test stats in normal runs? If you mean in terms of the one I was talking about in time trials, it's not really something you just can do. It's pretty luck-based in the terms that you have to just have a perfect angle and stuff. Some things in terms of the 150cc, there are some strats that used to be considered TAS only, like jumping the wall in Rainbow Road with a blue, like green shell. But it's been found out it's actually not that hard. And actually, like, I guess I also did not mention this, but like, this is time trials, obviously. But there is a separate kind of time trials category for this game. I don't know who like thought about it in the first place. You can also find it on MarioKart64.com, the link to the website. But there's a 150cc time trials too, where people compete for the best 150cc time. And that's really great, I think, that people are actually also exploring different things, because you can do a lot more in 150cc, such as use, it's allowed to use 2 players, so you can use the bots for jumping walls and stuff. It's really clever, some of this stuff done. I want to shout out Shadow of Miles, a really famous Super Mario 64 runner in the old days, because he has done a lot of funny things in 150cc throughout the times, and I've really enjoyed watching them. 100cc is standard, yes. It is what you automatically get when choosing time trials. There's no way to alternate it. So the only way to grind times in 150cc is by doing every single level in order, unless you do 2-player. But since it's, I think it has to be done with a computer. This jump is just not working for me at the moment. I hope this won't happen at the, there we go. So you can jump the wall there. How it works is basically Lucky 2 cannot pick you up immediately after he picked you up once. So you can just jump the wall without him like having time to get you. It's like he's very busy, apparently. This will not be a good 1-lap time, purely for the cause that this is Japanese version, and as you might have remembered me mention, the Japanese is slower, 39 to 78. That's not that good at all. It's slower in terms of the skip, just because the version difference makes a huge difference. I'll try out like a strat on you can do in this level. I messed up hard here before too. This is also a grinding kind of thing. You can immediately slide like into the sand and use mushrooms and go around the edge here. That was actually pretty good. Hopefully okay, maybe I'm doing a bit of mess ups, but you can make the train cycle, and also it's technically possible to go under the train. It's what I guess you would call it a TAS strat, because you only have 1 frame and like a few pixels to do it. So it's really a tough thing, but if I'm not wrong, the world record holder does do it in either his F-lap or his 3-lap, I can't recall. And I can see we're getting set up for SA soon. Computers are running in, and I can almost feel the hype in chat on the side. I'm gonna use this mushroom just to, okay. Basically, this train is really hard to make the cycle for, and it's what is generally competed for in this track. If you can make the train cycle, you're already pretty good to go, if you can just continue your speed. This is about 0.5 seconds faster doing it that way than doing the lap normal, but it's not really a whole lot faster in terms of the cycle, because you use 2 mushrooms instead of just using the one you usually use here. I used the second there because I just want to at least lap the train once. And I guess time is getting pretty close to the end, right? Yeah, I will just finish this level up, and I guess I can let the other guys take over, because there's not really a lot more to do than just grind at this point. and I know grinding of this game can be actually very boring to look at. I agree with that, if some people think it. It's a lot more fun to actually play it yourself. But look up a lot of the world records. I'd definitely say that to the chat. Even though it might be a little bit boring to watch runs all the time, in terms of just best times of this game, some of the driving is just impeccable and it's really entertaining to watch. Especially if someone can figure out where the old video for the 3-lap on Shoka Mountain is. The world record for non-shortcuts there is, it still stands to this day, and it's been there for the last at least 5 years, I can't remember how long. And he doesn't utilize a new strat. It's literally just hucking the walls, the entire thing. It's really impressive, and you should check it out, I think. So at least I made the 3-lap here, and a pretty decent Kalimari Desert. Maybe at best, because I haven't really grinded this a lot. And with this I will finish the run off. So there we go. Thank you for watching, I guess. What is this time? Whoa. Oh, we have the time down here. Whatever. I'm done. Really? Well, are you sure they're not just hyped for the SA run? Oh, glass. Okay, go for them.
We got a $5 donation from iCup. He's saying another donation because I accidentally was anonymous last time. Hey Flippy.
Hey,
And a $25 donation from Legato, which is in France, which I can't read at all. So
okay.
sorry for that.
Yeah, I guess someone else can put it on. Should I turn off the microphone? Have less time on grass, but using one around is still faster than not using it, so... Oh, this is not that great. Okay, so this level has what we like to call RNG, because you cannot really guess the cycles of these molds. I actually don't really know the optimal mushroom for this level, because it's pretty bumpy and there's a bunch of places you can use it. This level is mostly just sliding around all the time, because it's like, oh shoot, that was lucky. I had a bad angle. Pretty much what we like to do in like the speedrunning, and what is also pretty much done in time trials, because time trials is all about the best times. We like to do what is called MOLO, which is basically YOLO with the moles. And I will attempt like doing that now, but I've been pretty shaky on the driving at the moment. Okay, basically you drive around this part, and you would actually usually be going through over here, but instead I ended up hitting a bunch of moles, which is why it's called MOLO. I will definitely try and retry this level later, but for now I'm just noting down. Alright. Currently I'm playing the Japanese version, which might confuse a lot of players, but that's because I don't have a console for my American version. So yeah. There's not really a lot going on in some of the first levels here. They're basic driving around. This one has something though that is a bit different. It has a short jump you can do, where you basically jump into the waterfall. If I miss it, I'm just gonna retry, even though I said I would just run through levels. It's pretty basic. If you just have a slight speed up to it, you can just basically drive in there. I will attempt doing some glitches later, which will also be done in my skips run, but for now I just want to show off every level. So sliding around this part is actually faster than just driving around the normal way, because like it's just a faster track and you can do 2 slides, whereas the other side it's way more out to the side and it's harder to get slides done quickly. That was terrible. Let's try and redo that. The fastest way of doing the tunnel jump is actually by... So driving for this game is a lot different than people probably know from newer Mario Karts. If people have played Double Dash, it's a lot like it in the sense that you do a lot of drifting, but the timing space is more delicate. You don't want to like do slides all the time when you're going straight. Like in Mario Kart Double Dash, you do the thing called snaking, but here you can see me doing slides from like the same side to the left all the time. Oh, wow, that's terrible. Let's get in there. Oh wait, back on track. And basically the spacing, I want to like go into detail with this, by the way. So we have what is referred to as the slide and what is referred to as the glide. So the slide is what you see right now. It's the slide, like just losing speed by driving around. And the glide is the speed that you get from the orange smoke. So basically, the way the smoke works is you jump into a slide and you will have white smoke. But when you angle to the opposite side of the way you're sliding and then like slide back the way again you were initially doing it, you will instead change the smoke to yellow. And the same counts for orange. So when you release a slide from orange smoke, you will gain a lot of speed. Well, a lot of speed is definitely more than just driving straight, that's for sure. And this is what is used for going fast in this game. Alright, 140. I'm just noting these down just so I have a reference for later, see if there's anything I want to round out. Yeah, this was Luigi Raceway. It's... oh shit, I pressed retry, whatever. It's pretty much just a straight up driving around the level. You maybe saw me hit the sand a few times. It's generally not a big problem if you like touch the sand just for a quick while, but you lose a lot of speed by driving in it for a long time. But that's where the mushrooms come in. You saw me maybe drive around the edge a bit. First lap I used 1 mushroom and second lap I used 2. The reason for the 2 mushrooms is it's faster to use 2 on second lap than it is to use 1 every lap. Just because you're gliding on the bridge and jumping in there, like you don't even jump, you just slide in there. However, it's like really risky and it's time trial stuff. I haven't really done a lot of time trials on this level because it's pretty technical to get around stuff like this. So I usually just do it like this, which is pretty simple. You can actually glitch the ground in the tunnel. Like if you jump too far to the right, you will immediately like flip into the water and you will not get put back into the tunnel, that much is for sure. Touching the water is the same as touching the sand as far as I'm aware. It's pretty much just losing some speed. You can still do slides and stuff under the water, so it's no problem whatsoever. There we go. This is the optimal path for the mushroom, using it around that part. Holy. Okay, so sometimes I mess a little bit up. It's pretty hard to continually do slides and drifts all around in this game. People probably know it from the other Mario Karts if they played it, or just this. If you have to do jumps all the time and you have to angle to a side, maybe you will do the wrong angle. And it happened only once here, so that's not bad. Like for 1 try. Time trials is generally all about like grinding out. Some of the times are pretty goddamn good in this game. Like this is terrible right now. I'm not calling myself a good player by any means. I'm a pretty decent player, but some of the time trial times are insane in this game. And if people are wondering like how do you measure against other times, like do you just look at who's the best? On the MarioKart64.com page, there's actually what they call course, like standards, where you can see where like what is your ranking on that time compared to the standards. I'm generally a king player, which means I'm pretty good at the game. but it goes all the way up to God. I think it's like, but it's definitely like a king, legend, God. And God is basically the best. In those skips, the God. Are we good?
Yeah, and your mic is on.
My mic is on. Hello, everyone.
Yes,
this is
lady.
Final Fantasy 64. A lot of people already know this game. Just started. It's just time trials. So this is time trials, which means it's basically competing for the best time possible. And I thought I would just start out by like doing every single level, just a 3-lap, and see what times I get. And I can always like go from there and try to grind some things out.
Okay.
So yeah, let's just go with whatever. So I'm supposed to play as Peach right now because apparently I was donated the most. So enjoy a lot of Yep Ladies.
Be hyped for that. Otherwise, I want to remind you that we're Team Lodendi. We're located here in Sweden, Hövde, doing a charity marathon for Doctors Without Borders. So every donation you send in is going in for a good cause. So keep on donating for prizes, for donation incentives, and keep up the good work, guys.